At 4 a.m, Lai Wan Ming, who is a chef in Hong Kong, goes to work. His workplace is the dim sum restaurant Ling Huang Kui, a short walk from his apartment in the city centre. 800 meters down the road, another branch of the same restaurant, called Lin Huang Tea House, is also gearing up for the day. Lai Wan Ming is now 59 years old. In Cantonese cuisine, dim sum is a range of small dishes commonly enjoyed for brunch, which he started training to make at the age of 16. For 43 years since then, from 4 a.m. to 5 p.m, he's been working as a dim sum chef. One speciality of the Lin Huang restaurants is har gao, or shrimp dumplings, now under preparation. Dough making is of paramount importance for dim sum. A successful dough for shrimp dumplings relies on the precise control of temperature. First, boiling water is mixed with flour, followed by cool water added for cooling. Without cool water, the high temperature will harden the flour, leading to failure at the outset. The flour used to make the dumpling wrapping dough is made of wheat starch and mung bean flour. Gluten-free wheat starch is key to the translucent appearance of shrimp dumplings. Dough making is a process that engages a chef's body and mind. He should stand upright, stay focused, and apply proper and consistent force through his hands, elbows, shoulders, and indeed his whole body. Only with a focused mind can a chef knead his dough until it's fine and smooth, bringing out the full potential of the wheat starch. It took Lai Wan Ming well over a year to master the skill of making dumplings. The wrapping dough used for each parcel should weigh about 9.5 grams. When pressing it out, the chef should keep his shoulder, arm and hand in the same straight line for evenly applied force. Otherwise, each wrapper will not be perfectly round, which will affect the ensuing steps. Such consistency is essential for the transparent appearance and indeed taste of shrimp dumplings. Enjoying dim sum early in the morning has been a Cantonese tradition since the 19th century. The popularity of a tea house hinges on the quality of its tea and the taste of its dim sum. Lin Huang Tea House and Ling Huang Kui both open for business at 6 a.m. every day. But local diners are already seated at just after 5. The tables are set with a lidded bowl, a container for washing utensils, and 2 teacups. Before the attendants come, regulars will have been serving themselves as if at home. While skillful cooks are key to the success of a tea house, logistics is more important still. At 5 o'clock, the tea house's supplier arrives with his daily delivery. These are the fresh ingredients that will be made into dim sum. Peeled shrimps with their digestive tracts removed are soaked in cool lye water to enhance their transparency and elasticity. 30 minutes later, the shrimps are taken out and washed repeatedly to clean them. Fresh shrimps are the key reason why this traditional Cantonese dumpling, which was first created by a small tea house in suburban Guangzhou in the early 20th century, remains popular today. Initially, the shrimp dumplings were not as translucent and appealing in appearance as they are today, but their fresh taste won them many admirers. At around 6 o'clock, the seats on the first floor of Lin Hueng Kui are nearly full. Preparation of the shrimps is nearly complete. In the final step, Lai Wan Ming wraps them in wet towels to squeeze out water. This keeps their meat dry enough to remain firm after steaming and mix better with other ingredients. With all ingredients ready, the filling can now be made. Lean meat, salt, sugar, pepper, shrimp, fat meat, sesame oil, tender bamboo shoots, dried mushroom and bean flour. Lai Wan Ming deftly blends them together. Nang Chuan-Fai is general manager of the Lin Hueng restaurants. He's been working in tea houses for 40 years, since he became an assistant to his father. In 2006, he took over the business of Lin Hueng Tea House. And for the past decade, he's been coming to the tea house almost every day that he's been in Hong Kong.
做茶樓咧，本身啲點心咧最特點嘅嘢咧，就每一間茶樓你去睇下試下啲蝦餃、燒賣、叉燒包，咁啊知道呢幾種嘅材料咧做得好唔好。咁蝦餃咧又係另外就特別做出嚟嘅，要拍皮啊同埋醃啲蝦餃。咁我嗰種特點咧係各個手法同埋嗰啲材料食出嚟嘅係唔同嘅。咁呢幾樣嘢就試出一間茶樓嗰個點心師傅嗰啲功力去到邊度。
Wrapping the dumplings requires precise coordination between both hands. The thumb of the right hand remains still for the index finger to press the edge of a wrapper against. The number of pleats on a dumpling should be above 8, if not the commonly prescribed 12. During the process, attention should be paid to the coordination of hands, their speed and pressure. The daintiness of shrimp can only be given full play when the other ingredients in the stuffing are evenly filled in. The weight of a basket of 4 dumplings should be controlled to around 90 grams. As the wrapped dumplings are being steamed, the glycogen and glutamic acid in shrimp meat, guanylylic acid in dried mushrooms and fresh bamboo shoots, and small molecule peptides and nucleotides in meat degrade, producing a nuanced and tasty flavor. At around 6 a.m, Wong Kam Shing, an older chef at Lin Hueng Tea House, comes to work. He's been semi-retired since a stroke crippled his legs a few years ago. He still works every day, but doesn't have to arrive as early as the others, or do everything for himself. Wong Kam Shing started making dim sum when he was 15 years old. Since the age of 17, he's been working here in Lin Hueng Tea House. For 49 years, this place has been the center of his life. This is the most traditional breakfast in the tea house. Big buns stuffed with chicken. In contrast to the delicate shrimp dumplings, the speciality looks more substantial.
即係大包啊，佢即係大啲，抵食啲啊！而家佢落緊餡啊，嗱，
有啲雞啦，仲有
冷啲係臘腸，熱天啊叉燒。
哦，冬天咧就用臘腸，
啊，熱天有叉燒。
The 2001 Hong Kong animated film My Life as McDowell featured a hugely popular comic book pig called McDowell. In this scene, he's singing, "Give me more big buns, I have a good appetite." In his simple and optimistic portrayal of the life of Hong Kong's poor, McDowell struck a chord with many people. Big buns used to be a popular food among this social group. In the territory's early stage of development, there were many construction and hardware shops around the island district of Central, and their workers tended to eat energy-boosting foods. Naturally, the big bun stuffed with meat gained traction. Central today is best known as Hong Kong's financial district, and only a handful of traditional tea houses remain.
咁我哋依家做咗幾廿年咧，就係一個老字號，維持翻以前啲嘢，所以嚟到我哋呢度咧，都仍然有呢啲嘢賣。點解咧？咁因為出邊冇得食，啊，咁啲人如果要食嘅咧，要諗起上嚟邊度食咧？呢啲有得食，咁啲人會嚟揾到嚟呢度食。咁啊，全香港有過萬間酒樓，幾千間酒樓，咁啊每間酒樓有一個客話中意食嘅，佢會揾嚟到呢度食，咁就可以支持得起。
The taste of big buns in Lin Heung Tea House can be largely attributed to its leavened dough.
啲種咧都係隔夜咁發酵嘅，我哋個種都喺外邊度㗎，朝頭早。
Lin Heung Tea House has a tradition of using pre-fermented dough. From each batch of dough made, the chef puts aside a small portion, which will be used to start the next batch along. The starter dough is mixed with cake flour in a 1:8 ratio. Water is then added before stirring evenly. Theoretically, 2.5 kilos of water should be added to 5 kilos of flour, but the chef will adjust the amount of water according to the day's weather. Lower humidity means more water, and on hot days, less flour will be used. This human touch is key to the deliciousness of big buns. When making dough, consistency in pulling, folding and kneading is essential. After the dough has been kneaded, it's sealed in a bowl and left to rise for 10 hours at 28 to 35 degrees Celsius. The next day, the leavened dough is mixed with sugar, low-gluten flour, baking powder and lye water. Gluten is the protein contained in wheat. More gluten gives a tougher and chewier texture. For tougher food like noodles, high gluten flour is used. For fluffy buns, low gluten flour is better. Baking powder is the leavening agent that gives the dough its lift. Lye water can neutralize the acidity in syrup. This is Lin Heung Tea House's standard dough. The production of big buns is now a step closer. The fillings of a 150-gram big bun stuffed with chicken are quite varied. chicken meat of over 26 grams, mushrooms, chicken liver, pork, pig offal, roast pork or sausage, and a quail egg.
最主要大個，即係睇落抵食啲人。
Wrapping is relatively straightforward. The main thing is to put the fillings in without breaking the wrapper. The last challenge is now to satisfy the diners. At 7 a.m, the tea house is buzzing with customers. This kind of scene has been part of Central in Hong Kong for nearly a century. Lin Hueng Tea House first opened in 1889 as a pastry restaurant in Ziguan, Guangzhou, selling morning dim sum. With rising demand, its business hours were extended into the evening, and it began to cater to banquets. In 1926, Nan Chuen Fai's grandfather, Nan Lok Tin, came to Hong Kong and opened a branch in Central. After Nan Lok Tin passed away in 1949, his son Nan Tung Chun took over. Lin Hueng Tea House, after several relocations, finally settled down on Wellington Street Central. After Nan Tung Chun's departure, Nan Chuen Fai opened Lin Hueng Kui in nearby Devo Road West in 2009. Yumcha, as locals refer to taking dim sum, has thus been preserved as a feature of Hong Kong life. In the past, diners were segregated, with the working poor dining on the ground floor and wealthier customers eating upstairs. Today, however, everyone goes upstairs for dim sum. Sui mai, shrimp dumplings, egg tarts and roast pork buns are the most popular Cantonese dim sum dishes. They're also signatures of Lin Hueng Tea House. The wrapping pastry of su mei is made of egg, high gluten flour and lye water. Unlike wrapping pastry for shrimp dumplings that requires a glutinous texture, pastry for sui mai should be firm. With too much water, the pastry will cave in after being steamed. With not enough water, it can be difficult to wrap the dumplings. Sui mai wrapping dough should be kneaded with patience until it becomes smooth. It is then sealed and allowed to rise for 30 minutes.
其他所有點心咧，都係喺由乾蒸燒賣啲餡裏邊演化出嚟嘅，加塊豬潤嘅豬潤燒賣，加豬肚嘅豬肚燒賣。咁所以咧，好多呢啲咁嘅嘢咧，就係嗰個點心嘅精髓咧，就喺啲燒賣嗰啲肉裏邊。
The special flavour of the steamed sui mai offered in Lin Hueng Tea House comes from flatfish meal. Flatfish are common in warm waters around the globe. The flatfish is stir-fried in boiling oil for several minutes to extract its fragrance. Then it's baked in an oven to remove the grease. After being taken out of the oven, it's cooled, broken up and ground with sesame. It's now ready for use as a flavour enhancer. Enhanced by the flatfish meal, other ingredients like shrimp meat, pork, mushroom, soy sauce, sugar, salt, corn flour and cooking wine produce an inviting smell. The well-leavened wrapping dough is cut into pieces that are rolled flat. The final shape of each wrapper is then cut out with a mould to ensure uniformity of size. Speed is a key skill. The wrappers are filled at an extraordinary pace. Speed and meticulousness are typical of Hong Kong's tea houses and indeed business in the city itself. The dumpling is wrapped and pressed at its top into a circle formed by the thumb and the index finger. Then the top is levelled. Compared with other sui mai variants, steamed ones are wider and shorter with a simpler shape. Their soul lies in their taste.
咁好似佢做點心師傅嚟講咧，就唔係話咁簡單，就係咁同埋日日要控制住，要出幾籠燒賣，食幾籠蝦餃先夠咧。出得多冇人食嘅，剩咗就嘥咗，啊唔夠賣嘅又係賺唔到錢，咁所以咧每日咧要控制嗰個數量同埋個品質，冇得去有咩特別竅門可以即係做出嚟，可以加速成功嘅呢啲，係要不停咁做，不停咁做。
The fresh ingredients used by the Lin Huang restaurants are provided every day by fixed suppliers. Their delivery process is a microcosm of the highly developed industrial and commercial system of Hong Kong. Every step should be completed with efficiency and accuracy. As with traditional crafts, commonly agreed on rules also govern modern business operations and transactions. In this system, each individual only needs to focus on his or her own role. Wong Kam Shing sometimes makes more traditional sui mai with pork offal, a menu item that is today less in demand. Pork liver is cut into cubes and soaked in lye and baking soda for 15 minutes to soften and swell the muscle fibre tissue, remove the mucus between the fibres and neutralise the meat acid for better flavour and texture.
咁幾十年前咧，就廣東人咧係對於嗰個內臟，即係豬潤啊、雞潤啊、雞心啊、豬肚嗰啲內臟咧，就認為係上品嚟嘅。所以嗰陣時咧就茶樓咧好多人買咧八珍炒麵，就有一個雞肝啊、雞心啊、雞腎啊嗰啲一齊炒埋落去咧，嗰啲係最賣得。咁但係經過呢幾十年嘅年代咧，啲人就話食內臟唔好，對身體有害，咁所以佢哋個唔點呢樣嘢。咁冇人點呢樣嘢之中咧，嗰間酒樓就自然就唔會賣啦。咁漸漸呢樣嘢咧就淘汰咗。一路堅持用翻呢啲嘢咧，就係因為我哋個招牌做咗咁多年，都維持住咁樣嘅食物，咁啊招呼俾人。
Today, there are only a handful of tea houses in Hong Kong that still offer sui mai with pork offal. In the next step, Wong Kam Shing washes the liver and immerses it in boiling water until it's half cooked. Then he washes it again, drains it, and starts seasoning.
一匙羹鹽，一匙羹味，一匙羹糖，半匙羹味，少許雞粉，胡椒粉少許，薑蓉少許，炸蒜，落少許蠔油，撈勻佢。落少許蠔油，最後生粉， OK。
The core ingredients of sui mai with pork offal are mashed pork and shrimp meat. Optional fillings include pork liver or stomach. With everything ready, they're steamed with a high heat for 4 minutes. By then, they're only partially cooked. After customers make an order, they're steamed again until well cooked before serving. At 8 a.m, the city is full of hustle and bustle. Everyone is either hurrying to work or busy with work. All the seats of Lin Huang Tea House and Lin Huang Kui are taken. Strangers share tables. The air is full of the smell of food. The dim sum chefs, who've been busy for 4 hours, are working under the direction of Wong Kam Shing and Lai Wan Ming, producing a continuous stream of different dishes. They will continue at this brisk pace until 3 in the afternoon, taking time off only for a short tea break and a simple meal in the middle of the day.
以前做我哋呢行啲人呢，就每一日嘅工作小時係13個小時。即係我記得60幾年嘅時候呢，香港啲人就揾嘢做呢，再加句有冇加班？有加班呢，佢就做；冇加班呢，佢唔做。佢因為我要養好多人等錢使。即係我哋師傅依家60歲都做緊。 咁做到65啊70真係唔喐得嘅時候，揾邊個嚟做咧？嗰陣時係一個大問題。
Lai Wan Ming has taken and kept learning notes since he was an apprentice. On scores of aging pages, he's carefully recorded the techniques and processes needed for dozens of dim sum dishes served by Lin Huang Tea House. Wong Kam Shing sets aside time to go to the Shuangwan market to buy ingredients for the most important evening hour cuisine, imperial duck. The family of 68-year-old supplier Mr. Wong has been working with Lin Huang Tea House for more than 50 years, starting with Wong's grandfather. His shop used to be in Central and was relocated here in 2009. Workers at his shop remove the bones of ducks and stitch up the incision they've made, which requires speed and meticulousness. Imperial duck is a speciality of Lin Huang Tea House. Ingredients including lotus nuts, chestnuts, adlai millet and salted egg yolk are stuffed into the lean ducks removed of bones, which are then firmed with oil and stewed in stock. After being taken out, they're topped with thick juice. During the whole process, each duck without any bones should remain intact. Considerable skill is required to achieve this. For mild exercise, Wong Kam Shing sometimes takes a walk around the neighborhood. He takes the central escalator up and then walks down. Hong Kong's Central Market was set up in 1895. In 1939, it was rebuilt in the Bauhaus style. It provided fresh ingredients to Lin Hueng Tea House and the neighborhood. Abandoned a few years ago, it stands on valuable land of Central, awaiting a government auction. Hong Kong has its own pace, mostly fast, but sometimes also slow. For a long time, that pace was free, but over time, things have changed. This is a clip from the classic Hong Kong movie Infernal Affairs, which was remade by Hollywood as the Oscar-winning feature The Departed. The scene is set at the Gateway Theatre in Canton Road, Tsim Sha Tsui. When Infernal Affairs was released in 2002, its popularity gave a much-needed boost to Hong Kong's film industry, which was in a downturn. After that, Hong Kong filmmakers explored the mainland market. Authentic local productions such as Infernal Affairs and My Life as McDull became rarer. Just like the Central Market, the Gateway Theatre was closed in February 2016 and was repurposed as a restaurant. Just like Hong Kong's landmarks, people change too. Owners, managers, chefs, attendants, diners, suppliers, delivery men, newspaper sellers, even the taste of Lin Hueng Tea House is getting old.
呢個對呢個潮流咧就好難抗拒，即係好多時都有辦法堅持都成問題。
而家蝦餃王咧就送嘅。
咁但當到遇着困境唔夠錢嘅時候啊，最簡單啦，收個加一，咁當堂將個營業額提高10%啦。
叉燒包、紅棗糕、粉果之類。
咁但係咁樣做法同我哋以前做嘅傳統咧係有啲問題，咁所以咧就喺家父管理60年期間咧，都堅持就冇收加一，細水長流，一路咁維持落去，睇下維持得幾耐啫。
The chefs are busy preparing food for the evening hours. They've started making imperial duck. Dough to be used the next morning is being fermented, and the meat is being marinated. The Lin Hueng craft is undergoing a new cycle. Craft has its own pace. As long as there is demand and craftsmen to meet it, that pace will continue.
冰粒係因寒冷天氣在上空雨點遇好凍嘅空氣而因形成，預料寒冷天氣會維持多1-2日。明日市區氣溫7度左右，後日升至11、12度。